This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions.
This is Joe Rabil with Invest Like a Pro, and I've gotten a lot of questions about my services on rabilstockresearch.com, but I want to start out and make sure everyone understands. So I've been providing stock research and consulting to institutional money managers for the over 30 years, since 1990. And what I want to point out here is that what I've done is essentially help them with their timing. So these are professional guys, these are hedge funds, these are independent money managers, mutual fund managers, and some of the best guys on Wall Street. I have worked with guys that are the absolute #1 performer in large cap value. I've worked with small cap growth that are the #1, that were the #1 ranked. I've worked with emerging markets guys that were the #1 ranked. And so continuously over the years, working with all different types of managers, what I do is I apply my approach to their existing methodology and sort of overlay it and help them with the timing of the stocks they're interested in, whether they're long something and they want to exit, or if they want to get into the stock they're interested in fundamentally. So I help them with their timing. So what happened was, really over the last couple of years, I decided when I started this channel, I essentially got going with this channel about 2 or 3 years ago. The goal of it was to transition somewhat, and I wanted to start helping individual investors. The same way I've done the professional investors, I wanted to do the same thing. So I've got a group of guys that are subscribers, and those are my guys. So anyone who comes aboard, I am looking at, like I did my institutional investors for all these years, and I want them to be #1. I want the traders that work with me to be the best traders. Okay, I want to help them to the point where I think they can be successful. And I want to alleviate that, make it easier for them. And part of the way I do that is through my research. Now, there's a second part to it. I offer a limited consulting. Obviously, I can't consult with hundreds and hundreds of different individuals. But from a limited degree, I do offer them, anyone who subscribes, the ability to check in with me, ask me about individual questions, and they get, and I'll show you in my videos how I actually, I do a special video for the subscribers, and I will go through and essentially give an update on what I'm seeing in any stocks that they're interested in. But I also do that individually through email. So there's different ways to communicate with me, and that's one of the points I want to make. If you do subscribe, you do have access to me, and I try and make it as personal as possible. I'm trying to take you to another level. I want to make sure you're successful. That's my goal with this. And everybody's at a different level. Some guys are early in the approach, and other guys are trading full time. And that's what they do for a living. And all of these guys are subscribers. So I'm willing to adapt, just like I did with my institutional guys. I want to adapt to what's important to you. So that's the goal. Let's just look at some of these reports. So this is my Monday morning report. I send out. It usually comes around 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and I start out with the market. I do a weekly chart, give kind of an overview. And this first paragraph is usually now this is still going out to the institutions, all right? And this is usually for the institutional guys to get a sense of what I'm seeing from a bigger picture standpoint. And then the second chart is the daily chart, and I give a little bit more detail on what I'm seeing. And then I give positive highlights and I give negative highlights on this report. And trying to identify stocks that have pretty good potential in either direction. I then get into the trend report, and this is where I break down by sector what stocks are in uptrends, that's on the green, and what stocks are in downtrends that are on the sort of the reddish side here on the right. So, and then you can go by sector and you can see where, how many stocks are in uptrends with positive momentum. All three of these columns are uptrends and all three of these columns are in downtrends. And so it'll change week to week. If Newmont shows signs of improvement in its momentum, it'll switch from negative momentum, it'll move over. So you can kind of track that. And then through this, going through all the sectors, I actually track it each week. And I recommend guys, make a copy of this. And in fact, my institutional investors used to, and still do, I have a few guys that will print this out and keep it in a 3-ring binder so they can reference the prior week. And then these are the changes that took place for the week. You can see what's moving to the left and moving to the right. Obviously, up until this recent week, we've been seeing improvement in the columns. And then this is the momentum shifts based on MACD, just to give you an idea of what's going on the momentum side of things. And again, it's broken down by sector. Now, look at what this is doing here. I'm accumulating what's taking place by sector so we can see both the short term, and let me zoom in on this a bit so you can see a little bit better. So like for basic materials, this got oversold earlier in the year, got down, down into the oversold territory. Now it's up at 92%. That's the short-term positives. The longer-term positive still has a little room. It's at 64%. But you can do this for each one of the sectors. And one of the things I've noted here recently is how we've got more sectors overbought. Just going into last week, we had a lot of sectors that were overbought for the first time really this year. And so while on Fridays I give an overbought, oversold reading based on the 5 RSI, this is an excellent complement to that. And what I do at the end is I actually accumulate it all, and we can see that last week we reached about 80%, which is the borderline overbought for me for short-term level, for the short-term momentum. And so if that's the case, we want to start being a little bit more shying away a little bit from doing a whole lot of buying, maybe tightening stops, taking profits and stuff we're trading on potentially. And so anyway, that's the first report that comes each week. There's a lot of information on this each week. Obviously the changes are important. The sector action is important, and then the cumulative action. But even just taking it down and looking at the individual stock ideas that come through. So, just the type of thing. And I do like to make comments. All right. And I'm going to show you here on the week. So this is another weekly report I send out Wednesdays. I give an updated market comment here in red. And I usually focus in on the sectors and what's going on. So we've got the short-term trend, the intermediate-term trend, and the long-term trend for each of the sectors. And then I go through and by sector show the highlights. Now, these are all the stocks. So the first report I showed you on Monday is a large cap only, 400 million, 400 of the most highest stocks based on market cap. These are all the stocks down to 300 million, and I sort them by their sector. Now, what I like to do in this report is, again, make a few comments here so you can see what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking, all right? Why am I bringing this up? So Louisiana Pacific had a very strong move coming out of a low ADX condition. Now the ADX is starting to kick into gear. We've got support at 70. So I'm basically pointing out, look, there's something big developing here. Can we get a pullback towards 70? That's what I'd be watching for. Same with something like Summit. Look at the ADX kicking into gear. So what I'm doing in this report is I'm trying to identify stocks, again, by sector, that are showing real signs of improvement on their monthly and their weekly chart. All right, that's the goal. And then I do a video. So this is the video commentary that goes with it. So I'll send out the report Wednesday morning, and then mid-morning I will send this video that is a complement to this report. All right. And what it's doing is it takes any request that came in, and I go through that. I give a market update going through the S&P. I look at a few different things. Right now, I'm looking at the IWM and I'm looking at the TLT for the rates. And then I do reviews, and then I highlight some of the stocks from this review. All right, so there's a lot of stocks on here. I try and pick out the ones that I think are intriguing me, which sectors might be taking, and there's always some education in there in these videos. There's a significant amount of education in this, teaching you how to take my ideas and turn them into money, and how to look at these different entry points and I give a significant amount of detail. Now, once a month, instead of doing the video, I do a webinar, an hour-long webinar, and all the subscribers can come on and ask questions and all that. So I want to point that out. Now, there is another report that I do called the heavyweights. These are the top 30 stocks based on market cap. And I do this once a month, and I go through and I try and give a pretty detailed outlook of what I'm seeing on these big names. I think these names are so important to recognize how they have a huge impact. I call them the heavyweights because they're the heaviest weightings in the indexes. And so they're going to have the biggest impact on what the indexes are going to do. So if you know what these stocks are going to do, you have a pretty good idea of what the market's going to do. So that's why I go through these, again, give a lot of detail into what I'm seeing. Most people own some of these stocks in some way, shape, or form. So it's a good review from that standpoint. Now, another report that I do is once a month, and the heavyweights is once a month, and this sector and indice and commodity update is once a month. And the reason why these are only once a month is because my opinion doesn't change that much. I'm not gonna come out and say I like it one day and then a week later say I hate it. All right, I'm looking at things that I think are fairly important. Again, this stuff is going out to institutions. I'm trying to identify longer term, intermediate term time frames, not necessarily short term ideas for people. Now, what I do is I help guys that want to trade shorter term take the ideas and turn them into short term plays. I teach that, and that's a lot taking place in the video commentary. Now, again, I go through the market on this report, and then the commodities as well, give an update on those, and then I do each of the individual sectors as well, and I give a lot of detail into what I'm seeing in each individual sector. So this gives you an idea of some of the information that's coming your way. Some of them just weekly, some of them come weekly and some are monthly, but the video commentary that I do is each week. And again, it's a webinar once a month. So this gives you an idea of kind of all the information coming at you. It's a lot of information. I think, guys, what I have noticed is some guys say, well, this is my favorite report. And then other guys say, well, this is my favorite report. I get emails from guys saying that. And I've got guys saying, oh, my heavyweights is my favorite. This is the one I love the most. And then I've had someone else tell me that they like this report the most, this indice, commodity, and sector report. So everybody's finds something that they get an advantage from, and then obviously they always have access to me via the video commentary or through email. And as long as you keep it limited and you respect my time, you can ask me a few stocks a week. Hey, what do you think of this? I'm thinking about this one, that type of thing. So those are the types of things that I'm trying to do with this. But just keep in mind, the goal of this is to take everybody that comes aboard. I want them to become the next really good trader. All right, that's my goal with this. I'm not doing it. I'm not just trying to throw as much information out there as possible and see, who can pay me $100 a month. Every single guy that signs up, I want to kind of take a personal interest in. And frankly, when I do that video, I want you to think that you're leaning over my shoulder in my office and I'm talking to you one-on-one, and this is what I'm seeing. So that's the goal. But I know guys that have been with me for a while, subscribers, and they get it. They get it. What I'm trying to do is really work with them as closely as I can. It's up to them. I do have guys that like to do the one-on-one coaching. They pay extra for that. But really, I think I'm offering a lot of information for $100 a month. And you got to realize $100 a month seems like a lot, but it's really nothing. If you can come up with one good idea or avoid one bad idea by having the service, it's going to pay for itself 10 times over. All right, so hope this helps the guys that were thinking about this. Feel free to look at this, and if you haven't yet, I would start with the book, learn how to use the multiple timeframes using Invest Like a Pro. The book, I'm offering it for $5.99 at a discount. All right. So if you go to rabilstockresearch.com/book, you can access that. All right. So anyway, that's this week's video. We'll talk to you soon.